Welcome back to the Oddcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ricky.
And we're just two dudes who decided to start a paradox.
And today we're talking about a lot of paradoxes. Paradoxi.
Yeah.
A pair of doxes.
Doxers.
Pair of paradoxes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about more than a pair.
Probably more than two.
Two pairs of paradoxes.
We're talking about four?
Four. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe? I don't know. We're going to talk about paradoxes. Predominantly, the first one we're going to talk about is called the Ship of Theseus.
Yes,
which I'm
one we
really excited about because this is my idea to
When in life did you
Rochambeau.
learn about the Ship of Theseus? Was it college or?
I think probably college.
Yeah, that's when I learned about it too.
It's
about
a fun
identity
one
or whatever.
that I very rarely ever tell people my thoughts on. I just
Really?
like to throw that out there. You know, it's one of those things in life that I've learned to enjoy.
Yeah.
Where you just throw out, especially I'm a teacher, you know?
Yeah.
And so you just go, you know, life is just kind of there. People are just kind of getting in their groove, you know?
Yeah.
Just things are happening. And it's fun to just chuck out something, just that bomb in the middle of the room.
Right.
That just stirs something, you know? I like to do it in our friend group too. Be like, what about this? You know, just throw it out there. And people just, every time, they take the bait. And they just go for it. And you don't ever have to say anything. You just learn about a weird paradox or something new. And you just like throw that grenade out into the midst. And someone jumps on it and it blows up. And then everyone gets crazy and mad. And, you know, this is one of those. So
I like it.
A lot of people we asked didn't even know about this one. So I'm interested to talk about it and see kind of how people respond. Because people still answered their thoughts on the paradox without knowing what it was.
Right.
So, you ready to get into it?
I'm so ready.
Let's get to the Oddcast. The Ship of Theseus. Okay.
Yes.
So,
this has come into pop culture recently.
it has?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was in the end of WandaVision.
Oh, I did hear that.
Yeah.
I talked about this with some of my students today, and they were telling me how WandaVision explained it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, but from what I've heard, I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
How did WandaVision explain it that you heard?
That it's still the same.
No, that's not how WandaVision is.
That's what I was told. I haven't seen WandaVision, so I won't go off of that.
Let's explain it, and then I'm going to explain the end of WandaVision to you, just because I think it was brilliant. But
okay. So the Ship of Theseus is basically, we posted it on our Instagram, but the basic principle, right, of the paradox is if one plank of the ship of Theseus has been replaced, is it still the same ship? That's the start, right?
Right.
So that's question one. Question two of the paradox is if all of the planks have been replaced, is it still the same ship?
Right.
Right. So it's two levels. You take one plank out, you replace it because, you know, it got a hole in it.
Sure.
Is it still the same ship? So based off that logic, you take that, then you ask the next logical conclusion of the question, or the furthest implication of that, which is you replace every part.
Right.
Is it a new ship or is it the same ship?
Right. Yeah. I think how I was told the Ship of Theseus, it's a thought, or it's like a thought experience or experiment in metaphysics. Is that right? Yeah. Was okay. So they have the Ship of Theseus.
Right.
They discovered it. They put it in a museum.
Yep.
And it was pretty well intact, but over time it started to degrade. So they started over time replacing each and every piece of it. And then, I don't know, 50 years down the line, all of those pieces have been replaced. So then is it still the original Ship of Theseus, or is it something completely new?
Right. Well, and so one of the hard parts about this is it's terminology, right?
Sure.
And so with the terminology, the typical explanation is the ship the same? And the reason they ask it that way is because people will argue over the nuance of, well, it's not a new ship, right? So the real question that they were trying to get at is this still the same ship?
Right.
That's why. So like you take one, is the ship the same? Like the questions have to be the same for both of them, or else it gets confusing, right? So like you replace one plank on a ship. Is that the same ship?
Right.
You replace all the planks on a ship. Is it still the same ship? And so most people, so like we asked people about this on our Oddstagram. I got the hiccups. And
most people hadn't heard about it.
42% of people had not heard about this paradox. But
is it a paradox?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's considered a paradox.
Huh.
But most people, 78% of people, so all those people still voted, 78% of people said that if one plank of the ship has been replaced, is it still the same ship? They said yes. So most of those people are arguing that if you take one plank off of a ship, right, and you put one back on, the ship is still the same ship.
Still the same ship.
So the real paradox of this is that's typically how people answer the question.
Wait,
right?
which seems natural, right? Because like if you go get your oil changed, you get a new oil filter.
Right.
It's still the same car.
Still the same car, conceptually.
Yeah.
Right. That's why this is a metaphysical paradox, and it really hits at conceptualizing identity.
Right.
Right. What identifies an object?
Sure.
Is it its parts? Is it the all those parts together?
Right.
Is it a combination of the two? And then, so you take that, it's an aspect of identity. Most people would say, we only asked that one question. I did that kind of on purpose.
Right.
Because that's the start. And most people, 78%, according to our poll, and other ones, yeah, of course, it's still the same ship.
Right.
Right. Take the oil filter out, replace it. Is it still the same car? Yes.
Right.
Because they're thinking in terms of identity, which is very Western culture.
Sure.
They're very identify things, claim them as what their identity is. It's the same ship that I've always had.
Right.
But the problem becomes, and where the paradox comes in is, well, what do you do if I say, well, I've taken every part off of the car, the original car,
right,
the original ship. It's all brand new. Is it still the same car?
Right.
And most people would start to have to question that now. It's like, well, if every part is different,
right,
I don't think it's the same car anymore. So then the question becomes, well, at what point did it become a different car? When was it not the same?
Right.
Because now you have to put a position. Is it 50%? When you do 51%, now it's not the same? Is it a mathematical equation? Is it a...
Right. It's a great question.
The whole paradox is really trying to hint at how do you view identity?
Right. Now, do you think that there is a right answer to this? Or do you think it's more of a just try to, like, it can be viewed in a few different ways?
Well, so the basic concept of a paradox is there isn't right.
Right.
I would still argue that I think there's a right answer to this.
Okay. Are you willing to share it on this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
How would you have voted?
So,
have you thought about this a lot? Because this is one that's like, this comes into my head like quite frequently, this paradox.
Yeah, I heard about this in college. I haven't thought about it a ton. I heard about it in college back when a couple of my friends were going through some sort of, I think they were going through some philosophy class. I don't even remember them talking about it in mine. But they were talking about the philosophy of identity, and they talked about the Ship of Theseus. And it actually might have been even a theological class that they were in. But I remember hearing about it and being kind of fascinated because I was like, that's an awesome question. Like, I have no idea how I would define this. Because you could either go, okay, the first one, which is all the parts. It's all the same parts as the original. So, because I guess the second part of this, or maybe third part of this question, I don't know if we mentioned it, but with all those discarded pieces, they rebuild the full Ship of Theseus with all the original pieces. So which one is the real ship? Right. That's the third part of it.
A lot of people don't even get to that part because that's part of the paradox aspect.
Right.
But the real hint is the original ship, and because it's an aspect of identity.
Right.
Right. And so then that second one adds in, or that third one adds in like,
which is
now I have a real identity. And that's why I think there's a right answer.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so first time I heard it was college. And I honestly didn't think about it a whole lot more until the WandaVision brought it back up, and I was
good old WandaVision.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about the Ship of Theseus. But essentially, what happens in the end of WandaVision is you know Vision, right?
Yeah. Yep.
He's a robot, or I don't know, what would you call him? What do you call a robot that's basically a human?
Cyborg.
No, that's half robot, half human. He's a robot human.
AI.
He is an AI, but anyway, essentially what happens is there's two Visions, one that's made from the Mind Stone, like Wanda creates him with her powers, but he has the Mind Stone in him, which is still the mind of Vision, but all of the parts
are different.
Were taken in by the government, and Vision was rebuilt by the government, but he doesn't have the mind, and so there's the mind of Vision, and then there's all the parts of Vision. But the all the parts of Vision 1, the original parts, is tasked with killing the Vision.
Yeah.
But he's tasked with killing the Vision, not the mind of Vision.
Mm-hmm.
And so Vision, in order to defeat him, or in order to like have him stop trying to attack him, brings up the Ship of Theseus thing. And instead of there being this like end battle, it's this end like mind war where they're like, he's like, I'm supposed to kill you. He's like, but are you supposed to kill me because I'm not the Vision?
Right.
You're the Vision.
And
so it was like this whole thing where he had to try and figure out like what is going on, and eventually he just flies off because he's like, neither of us are the Vision.
Who am I?
And it was great. I was like, that's an awesome way to end this. Like,
yeah.
And it's so much better than, I mean, so many of the Marvel ones are just, I love Marvel, but so many of them end in just like, let's shoot lasers and do a bunch of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
That it was a great way to end that one. But yeah, so I don't think I've thought about it a whole lot since then.
Yeah. So I was trying to read some of the solutions read out that don't make any sense. So here's how I look at this, right? And the way you answer this is it's very revealing of your thoughts on identity.
Yeah.
Right. So the ship.
Yeah.
People that vote yes, if you replace one plank, it's still the same ship. They're attributing identity of a ship or an object to the whole of the object.
Right.
Because they go, well, majoritively, if that's a word, it's still the same ship.
Right.
So it's the same. Because we're understanding same to be not the typical definition of same. Right?
Right.
Because if I take a sip of this water bottle, it's not the same anymore. Because there's a different amount of water in it. It's not the same as it was before.
Right.
We'd all agree on that. Like, is this exactly the same as it was before I took a sip? No. So when we say it's the same ship, the whole point of this is bringing up the idea of identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, identifiably, it's the same ship. Well, what makes that identity the same ship?
Right.
What if this one plank had the name on it? Right? That's part of the paradox.
Sure.
If they had the name on it and you take that off and replace it, is it a different ship now? We've had a different name on that new plank.
That's a great, like you had like a yacht that's like the SS Northwest or something like that. And
you take that off and you put a different one on. Is it a new ship now?
That's a great question.
Right? You've changed the name, and we associate name with identity in our culture.
That's true.
So the problem that I have with even saying that the first one with one plank is the same ship is that's not a classic definition of same.
Right. It's not 100% the same.
Mm-hmm. And so that's why you can't use the word new in that paradox, and why the original one doesn't. It's not about, is this a new ship? Is it the same ship? And it's not the same ship.
Right.
Because it's now been fundamentally changed. Now, in the classic form of like looking at it, am I going to go, yeah, that's the same ship?
Right.
Yeah. But is it the same? No. It's different now. It's updated. It's changed, which is
why. But it
is
a new collection of parts.
Yes, this is a new configuration of parts. Right. And that's why I think the paradox naturally plays out that way, because then you take all of the parts off and you have a new ship. It's not the same ship. That's why it is considered a new ship now, because all of the parts are different.
Right.
Right. And then that's where the paradox, I think, becomes unparadoxical in a sense, because then when they bring up what you brought up, the third question of you take all those old parts and you put them, is that the ship? Yeah, that's the ship, because that collection of parts, it is the same as it originally was.
So that because it is 100% the same ship.
It's 100% the same ship. Like you've taken every old part off slowly, one piece at a time, and rebuilt the original with new pieces over time. But you kept all those old ones and you rebuilt that over here. All you did was take something apart originally, put it over here, and put new things over here. Now, it's just a Lego kit where you're just swapping pieces, but eventually you rebuild both things just in two different locations.
Right.
So is the Ship of Theseus the same after one plank? No. It's only the same once every original piece has been deconstructed and rebuilt as it originally was.
Right.
Which is an identity thing. That's why I hold to that, because as we look at identity of people, right? I wouldn't say that you're the same as you were last week. You've changed. You've grown. You have a mustache now, right? You had a mustache last week. We recorded two of these in a row. But so it's going to look the same. But next week, if you kept it, you're not going to be the same, right? Chemically, you're not going to be the same.
Right.
Your cells are not going to be the same. They die. They reproduce. Your hair length, your the wrinkles we grow. You're not same person you were at the start of your life on Earth to the end of the life on Earth. Are you the same identifiably? Yes. Most likely, you're probably not going to change your name either. You're going to be Alex Roscoe Miles, right?
Yep.
Sorry, we'll bleep your middle name. No, we won't.
We're probably
right.
It's on my Facebook. So.
But are you still that person? Yeah. Are you the same though? No. Right. There's a lot of changes that have happened over time.
Yeah.
And I think the Ship of Theseus is one of the great ones that helps us start to see that kind of misconception in identity, where we look at people and you're like, oh, yeah, you're the same because you are identified how I've always identified you.
Right.
As, the guy that sits on the right side of the table during the Oddcast.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
But you're not the same. You've gotten married in the last year. You bought a house this year. You did all these things. That changes us.
Right.
So our identity's changed.
I have less caffeine in my system right now.
Yeah, exactly. I wish I had more caffeine in my system. Yeah. So that's kind of why I like talking about this one.
Right.
Because it starts to reveal a lot about the show. So if you answer that question, you're like, yeah, it's the same. It's really going to, okay, well, why do you think that?
Right.
That's the point of this. It's not just to be like, oh, is there a right answer? It's to be like, okay, yeah, I think there is a right answer, and that's because of how I view identity.
But then the right answer would be multifaceted. It would be some forms of its identity are the same, some forms are not.
Right.
Because you could rebuild the entire Ship of Theseus, but then just call it something different, and that would change its identity.
Right. In name. Right. But its parts, it would still be the Ship of Theseus.
Right.
Right. And that's what's difficult. Right. And so, Bible teacher, Christian,
right.
Think theologically, makeup of parts, like in how something is made up, is important.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. And for humans, that changes. When we talk about for God, it doesn't change.
Right.
Right. And so that's why his identity is the only true thing that is consistent throughout all of eternity, because it never changes.
Right.
The Ship of Theseus changes.
Yeah.
Everything else in our world changes. And so, I think of things like things that we excavate, right, in history. And they're like, this is such and such's tomb, right?
Yeah.
Well, once you take that body out, it's not their tomb anymore. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not a tomb anymore. It's just a big hole in the ground, right? Like, and then we turn it into a tourist site and all this other stuff so that people can make money off it or whatever, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you, boo-boo. But, like, the whole point is, like, we are then identifying this place as a specific important thing by name. But if, for whatever reason, we forget about it, 1,000 years from now, it's not going to be the same identity to someone else. Someone else is going to be like, that's just, that's the North Hole in the ground. Right?
Let me ask you a question about that. Because I think also the intention for the reason it was built is an important part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, you have, so-and-so Pharaoh's tomb, right?
King Tut's.
King Tut's tomb, yeah.
Was he in a tomb?
I don't know.
Let's go with it.
Yeah, no, they don't know. If you know, great for you.
Yeah, if you know, we did too.
We do too, yeah.
We're testing you.
Yeah. You have King Tut's tomb. If it was built for King Tut and was always meant for King Tut, he was laid in it when he died, but they've taken King Tut out, I would still say that's King Tut's tomb.
Right, it is his tomb. I'm saying, but like if 1,000 years from now, we forget
that's all forgotten.
It's all forgotten. It's not King Tut's tomb anymore.
Right.
The only reason we call it King Tut's tomb
is because of history.
And because that's a way to identify it. That's the only reason it has that name, is to identify it, because no one cares it's his tomb anymore. If you take the body out, no one cares. Right. They're like, oh, cool. I get to look at this cool tomb. Right. But
if it got all forgotten, no more tourists, somebody just happened upon it.
Yep.
Nobody would think
it wouldn't be his tomb anymore. Right. It'd be something else. Some guy finds it and makes up some other story, and it's Alex Roscoe Miles' tomb.
That would be awesome.
And they're like, hey, this is Alex Roscoe. And that's how everyone will identify it, because names are important to our culture, and what we call things are important. Right. Like, that's my truck. Okay. Well, just because I get the oil change, it's not somebody else's truck now. It's still my truck. That's why we have, in our culture, we have, deeds and titles and all those stuff to lay claim to something. Sure. But this right now is my house.
Right.
Right. When someone else comes in, buys it and paints it and transfers ownership.
Right.
No one would say it's the same house anymore.
Right.
Right. If I said I painted it, people are like, oh yeah, it's the same house. You just painted it. right? Because its identity is now associated to its ownership and how someone perceives it.
Right.
That's the issue with the Theseus thing, right? If I'm like, oh, I own the Ship of Theseus, and I give it to you, and you deconstruct it piece by piece, and you put new pieces on that are made of, metal instead of wood.
Right.
You're like, oh, it's not Ship of Theseus anymore.
Right.
Because ownership means a lot to us. And so we do this weird dance in identity in our culture, which is why it's such a good question, which is why we should learn about what these old dead guys and gals thought about
metaphysics,
and brought up into the world, because it's one of those things you're like, I don't care, it hurts my brain. What's good? Stretch your brain a little bit. Think about it. Because you start to talk about it and you start to hear other people's perspectives, and you're like, oh, I don't think it's a different thing, because what about this? And you're like, oh, that's a good, let me think through that. Like, that's why I think these paradoxes are fun.
Right.
But they're also, they take work, right? You have to think
totally.
through that, right?
Oh my gosh.
But this is one that I love, where I'm like, identity to our culture is everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
Right. And we have changed what identifies us as our identity. Right. It used to be a lot about the family line. It used to be about your job. It used to be all sorts of, things, and it's shifted through our culture. And what makes that so difficult is, as it shifts, people lose who they are. And they don't know how to identify themselves. Right. They're like, I don't know who I am. That's this huge thing we have in culture. Like, I got to go find myself. And I always hated that, because I'm like, let me show you a mirror, and like, you're right in front of me.
You are yourself.
Like, let's just deal with this, who you are, and let's put some, feet to the pavement, and let's make something happen here.
Right.
Not to belittle that issue of, figuring out what kind of person you want to be and those type of things, but to understand, like, you got to do something though. Like, you can't just think like, oh, this didn't like to change, but I want to be the exact same person, or like, you're not going to be.
Right.
None of us should be. Like, I hope that by the end of my life, I'm not the same as I was as a 16-year-old boy, because I was an idiot, right? Like, I think of some of the stuff I did at 16. I'm like, how that young man survived, like, didn't end up killing himself because he was doing something stupid. Like, this is a great idea. Let's try that. Like, no, I don't want to be that same person anymore. I want those parts to change in me, and I want my identity to be made new in that growth.
Right.
Not look back and be like, I'm exactly the same as I always have been. Like, if someone is claiming that, run away from that person, because that's scary. Like, I don't want to be the same person I was 5 days ago. I want to keep growing in knowledge and, grace with other people, and understanding and care, all those things. Right.
Totally.
So that's, I don't know. That's one, I think that's important, that identity wise. Right. And it's so fun. Right. You get someone that hasn't thought about it. So there's people that are like, no, I don't know. You're like, okay. But you got to walk it in well. So many people want to throw the whole paradox out there. And I'm like, no, you got to bait them in a little bit. Because then that's when you get to throw the grenade bomb in and watch people's brains be like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's like one of the dumb ones I like to ask, right? How many holes does a straw have? Like, this is a timeless one. And people are like, well, I Googled it says 1. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. I Googled it and it says 2. Like you can make Google really say anything you want. And I always argue there's 2, right? And because it's just fun. Because the people are like, no, it's 1. And they get so angry over something so dumb.
Well, what's funny is, like, because with that one, right? Because there's so many different ways to look at that. Because I remember the first time you asked me that, I was like, okay, well, if you took like a 2x4 and drilled a hole all the way through it long ways, is that 1 hole or 2? Yeah. And then I was like, but if you took a 2x4 and lined up the middle, drilled a hole halfway through, and then another hole halfway through, and it met in the middle, how many holes were there?
Exactly. That's why I argue 2, right? Because if I didn't,
but if you drill it all the way through 1, it could be 1 hole.
Still 2, man.
How are straws made? That's what I want to know.
That's a good question.
Are they rounded? Are they folded over, or are they something punched through them?
You want to know what I want to know? Are you a bendy straw kind of guy or a normal straw kind of guy?
I'm a no straw kind of guy.
But if you had to pick a straw,
if I had to pick a straw,
what's the superior straw? Bendy, swirly, or normal?
Can I choose boba? I want a boba straw.
Straight boba straw.
Straight boba straw.
With any drink?
Any drink, man.
He's got a thirst buster.
My problem with straws is I can't drink enough when they're there. And so I end up just sitting there holding it just like,
Okay, like, but did you ever get McFlurries? The old McFlurry?
Oh, yeah, with the spoon straw?
The spoon straw?
Yeah.
That used to actually go all the way through. They like made that hole even smaller now. Did you know that?
What's the deal with that?
Like, come on, that's supposed to be a straw.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ever intended to be a straw, but man, did you use it as a straw?
Oh yeah,
That was the best straw of all time.
Especially once you got down to the end, it was like a little bit like,
yeah,
it was melty.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it's good stuff, man.
it is.
Anyways, Ship of Theseus. That's where I land.
You didn't actually land on a definitive spot.
No, I did. I was saying that definitively, once one plank is changed, it's not the same ship.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because it's an aspect of identity. The moment that is changed, it's not the same, right?
But
like
in some ways it is.
No, I would say it's not the same.
But in no ways?
In no way. I would say that other people would look at that base overall and say, like, identifiably, like visually, oh yeah, it's the same, because they can't tell the nuance of a singular part. But it's not the same, right? You're not the same because you grew a mustache.
Right.
You've changed, bro.
No, I get it. Yeah.
You've changed.
You've changed.
Yeah. You got a mustache now.
I get that.
It's not the same.
But
is it completely different? No.
No.
But is it the same? No. Because same means exactly as it was.
So here's my question. Is there no, in your opinion, is there no subjective identity? Is it all just objective parts-based identity?
So that's where the nuance comes in, right? That's where the paradox comes in. Actual identity in the, is this the same ship? There, it's objective through and through. No, it's not the same ship because something on it has changed. So based off a classical definition of same, it's not the same.
And it's not different. The same, but it still has, in some ways, the same identity.
So that's what I'm saying. That's what's subjective about it. It's other people's perception of the identity.
Sure.
That's why it's a paradox, is because people will argue it's still the same ship because in their perception, it's still the same. But in reality, the ship is not the same. In their identifying it, even visually, because we might not notice the nuance. Some people might not notice your new mustache, right?
Sure,
Wanted to point out a lot today.
Which I don't know how it's so full.
Yeah, it's so.
and
you got it? Did you get a little comb for it yet?
No, they're still too short to actually be able to comb them down.
But so objectively, the answer, from my understanding and how I view this, and I think it's right, is the ship is not the same. Based off a classical definition, the same. So identifiably, even its identity, it's not the same ship. Now, could it have the same name? Yeah, but that's not the same ship. That's just the same way in which we understand it to be something. Like, you're not the same, but I still call you Alex.
Right.
Right. Are you the same? No. Do I still have the same thing I call you to identify you? Yeah, because I hope you don't get a new name every time I see you. That'd be freaking confusing.
But would you say that, like, I know you say I'm a person who's grown,
tall,
but could you say that I'm a different person?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because I say you are. Do you think you're different than you were yesterday?
Yes, but not in the way that I would say, like, oh, that's a different person, right? Because when I'm like, oh, I watched this movie with Ewan McGregor in it, and my brother's like, that's Tom Selleck. That's a different person. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of way I'm thinking about it.
Right. But that's where definitions of these things are important. That's why it's nuanced. That's why it's paradox.
Tom Selleck doesn't look like anything but like Ewan McGregor.
Right. He's got a dope stash.
He does. Is he still alive, actually?
I don't know. We should Google it right now. So that's what I mean, right? Like, nuance of definition is important. Defining, like we've talked about this before, defining terms before an argument or debate is essential.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like to do that. So when I go into this, the place that this loses and goes all sorts of wacky is defining same.
Right.
So if you define same classically, right, as it was before, no, the Ship of Theseus is not the same ship. It's different. Right now, could I still call it the Ship of Theseus? Yeah, because it's still I could attribute a name to anything. But is it the same ship?
Right.
No. If I took every part off and rebuilt it over to the right, is that the same ship? Yes. That would be the Ship of Theseus. Because it's the same.
But it wouldn't be the same. Because in that process, assuming you could do it in a process where nothing would change, but you'd have to nail every piece back in exactly the same, there'd have to be no extra dust or anything like that on it, or nothing that got chipped. Because if anything gets chipped, then it's technically not the same.
If any, you mean the wood pieces? If any of the wood pieces or anything were chipped,
right?
Yeah,
and even in the spatial makeup of it, it's in a different spot.
Yeah, well, putting together. I mean, not that I put together a lot of ships, but I mean they'd all have the same holes.
Let's pretend it's Lego and it's 16 pieces.
Yeah, yeah. The holes would be pretty clear and all that kind of stuff, right? So in nuance, it could potentially be different. You put together, but like as a whole of what the paradox is trying to represent,
right?
Like that becomes in most people's mind the new ship, but it's actually the original ship,
right?
And that's what I think is the fun part about the paradox. Is
let me ask
identity.
you. Let me ask you here: if the ship of Theseus, somebody shot it with a cannon.
Nice.
Yeah, right?
That's pretty baller.
And cannonballer.
Got him.
And the cannonball went through and broke a piece of the wood.
Mm-hmm.
Is it still the same ship?
No.
Okay.
Right? Because, again, definition.
Yeah.
Is it the same as it was before? No.
Let me ask you another question then.
Is it still Theseus? Is that still how we would identify it?
That's how, subjectively we would identify it, yeah.
We'd be like, oh, look.
Because there is a part of it that's subjective.
Theseus went through a war.
Yeah.
Is it exactly the same as it was before?
No.
No. And it never will be.
And it's compositional makeup.
Right? It never will be.
Right.
And nothing ever will be. That's kind of the point. We never will be. Our cells die. They regenerate.
Right.
We start growing gray hair. We like those type of things show, I get a haircut. Am I the same person? Well, identifiably, I'm still Ricky.
Right.
But you better believe that when I go get this haircut, I leave that place feeling like a new man. Especially, and if I leave and they botch the cut like happened 2 times ago, you are part of that.
I was the one who was cutting your hair. I was a part of it.
Yeah. It would never happen. Right? I felt like there was a problem. I wasn't me.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Because I have an identity issue with my own hair.
Right.
Of how I identify me. But either way, it wasn't the same person.
Right.
Because I left and I had shorter hair, blah, blah, blah. Right?
Right. Your full makeup is not the same.
Right. But outside of that, the subjective aspect of how I identify myself, I wasn't me because my hair wasn't how I do my hair. They had messed it up. Right? So that's what's crazy about Theseus. And that paradox is, where do you put your identity? And most people put their personal identity in name or in hair or in some aspect of himself.
Right.
But then when it comes to the Ship of Theseus, they want to be like, oh, it's the same. But they would never do that for themselves.
Right.
Right? Because if I say you lost your foot, are you the same as you were before? No, obviously not. You'd walk different. You'd have a lot of different things that have to happen. So are you the same? No. Are you still called the same thing? Unless, get a cool nickname. You're like 1 Foot Joe or something, right? But besides that, you're not the same.
Right.
Neither is Theseus.
So then let's take it to the most drastic.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Nothing changes about the ship, but it lowers in the water a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Some of its planks are a little bit more wet.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the same ship?
Well, I mean, if they get dry, then yeah. Because it doesn't change the chemical makeup of the ship. It just changes the outside surrounding circumstance of the ship.
But it also changes the way it looks.
Just for a period. If it dries, it's fine.
I don't know.
Like water doesn't change things that quick.
I don't know. I think it would also rot it a little bit.
Not in one try.
I think so.
No, man. Do you know how long those ships last in water?
Think about this. Let me ask you
I think
this.
you need to go to boating school.
All right, changing it.
Wood boating school.
I'm not going to boating school. I live in Arizona.
We should build an ark together.
What? We live in Arizona.
They did it in Kentucky.
Yeah, but
there's no ocean near Kentucky. We're definitely closer to the ocean.
But we don't need it. God said he wasn't going to flood the earth again. I'm not building an ark.
But I mean,
do you know how expensive wood is right now?
Imagine taking it out to Lake Pleasant.
We couldn't. Anybody got any tigers?
With your
go fish.
We don't have to put any animals on. It'd just be for us and our friends. With your Subaru and my truck, we could tow it out there.
Yeah, probably.
Those things can tow a lot.
Yep, totally.
We could make it over any terrain.
Totally.
You want to get into some of these other paradoxes?
No, wait. I had a question.
Okay, answer.
With the
Daily
shirt double. Or with the Ship of Theseus getting wet.
Shirt of a Theseus.
It plays into what I was going to ask. How about this? You wash one of your T-shirts,
Mm-hmm.
and
Is it the same?
yeah,
No.
is it the same?
No.
Not the same.
No.
Why not?
Take a black T-shirt, for example.
Yeah.
What happens to most black T-shirts?
It's
Unless
a little
they're
faded.
super awesome, like these T-shirts that I wear once a week, and they haven't faded at all.
Yeah.
This is the only black T-shirt I've ever had that's exactly the same as when I first bought it.
Wow.
You see how I turned that into a plug?
I didn't see that, but now that you say it, I totally understand. Yeah.
You guys should buy one of our shirts. We're working in our shop. Check out our Instagram. No, because they fade.
So it is different.
It is different.
So what if the wood plank fades? Different ship.
Then it would be technically different.
So the color is.
It wouldn't be a different. It wouldn't be a
coloration
different
matters.
ship, right? It wouldn't be a different ship, right? That's where this is weird. Is it the same? No. Would I say that's a different ship? No, because you haven't changed plank and pulled it off and put a different thing on. It would just be an aged ship. The ship is still the same ship if you're talking identity and name, right? Because you haven't taken anything off of it.
So then, okay, so let's go back to the shirt. The shirt.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's starting to
Same and
fade.
different are different.
Same and different. Got it.
See what I'm saying?
Very, very
See what I'm saying?
not confusing.
Yeah.
So you take the shirt for instance.
Paradoxes
then.
are never confusing.
You get some of the stitching comes out, and you replace the stitching. Different shirt.
So, wait, the stitching is different.
So-
Wait,
so
are we
let's say-
still washing it? I'm confused.
Okay,
at
so
where
we
we're at with the shirt.
washed the shirt.
We're beating this horse.
I
dead.
know, but because I'm trying to take it to its extent. That's the whole problem. It's a thought experiment, right? Because there's a whole bunch of different little avenues you can go with this.
Yeah, but now we're on a shirt.
But it's the same thing. Same thing applies. So we wash the shirt. It's one of not these shirts.
Yeah.
It's a black shirt that fades.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shirt made by some other podcast called the Oddcast.
Nah, bro.
Broadcast. They make a black shirt and you put it in the wash.
They
It
make
says
a white
stay casual or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
stupid, you know. And
Stay
you put it-
normal.
you stay normal. Stay the same is what it says. You put it in the wash. It fades.
Yeah.
It's still the same shirt in your opinion. Although I would maybe say it's a different shirt.
No, I said it's not the same.
No, you said if it fades. Yeah. Yeah, it was a different shirt. Okay.
No, I said it's not the same.
It's okay, so it's not the same shirt,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a different shirt.
Correct.
But you did say with the ship, you said, all right, it's not necessarily the same ship if it gets a little bit of water wear and it starts to fade,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a different ship.
Right.
So
Those hold consistent with the shirt and the ship.
but with the shirt,
Mm-hmm.
if we took out the stitching of one sleeve and replaced it with stitching in the exact same area,
Now it's a different
shirt.
shirt, just like it'd be a different ship.
Wow, interesting.
Not the same, right? But that's where it's hard because you're nuancing the terms like same and different,
Right.
right? So I would say it's not a different shirt because I look at that shirt and go, everything about that shirt conceptually and makeup and identifiably is exactly the same outside of it's faded some. So it's not the same in the concept of like color and those things, but nothing is, I haven't taken anything off and put something else on from a different shirt. So I haven't made it different.
But you have taken some stuff out. Some of the pigment has been lost.
No.
It's different.
It is, okay, so but this is where you're using different terms, okay? Same.
I understand.
Is it not the same? It's not the same.
Right.
Is it a different shirt? No.
Yes.
No.
If you're going to say it's not the same,
No,
it's
those are different words. No,
I hear what you're saying, but I disagree with you.
you can disagree, but you have to define then why is it different?
Because it's not the same.
But that doesn't make it a different shirt. It makes it different in its conceptual makeup, right? So identify.
So therefore it is different.
It's different. It's not a different shirt.
But it is a different shirt.
No.
If you're going to say it's different if you change the stitching, even though everything about it looks the same, it still wears the same, you still identify it as the same thing, or people identify it as the same shirt, then that would, and if you're going to say
It would make
that
it
is actually different.
not a different shirt. You are different. You're not a different person.
No, but you said if you change the stitching, then it would be a different shirt.
Exactly. But not if you just
I
wash
disagree
it.
with that.
Why?
Because I think if you're going to say that, or I disagree with your logic there. I don't know whether or not I think it'd be the same or the different shirt. I have no idea, truthfully. But as far as the difference between a shirt fading, being the same shirt, and then changing the stitching a little, even though everything fits the same and whatnot, making that a different shirt, I think if your shirt's fading, you're taking something away from the shirt. Therefore, it's different.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily different.
It's different.
How?
It's different in look and in pigment.
Okay. So it is different. It's not a different shirt.
Yeah. So it would be, but it would be different.
I said that. I just said that. I said it's different, not a different shirt.
So why does the thread make it a different shirt?
Because now you've taken something from a different shirt or different process and added something and taken something away. You've now created a new object, right? You didn't create something new by washing it, right? So here's what I'd say, like, going back to like you and the mustache, because I think this is a fun one.
Great.
Because I like your mustache.
Yeah.
We should be
Really?
mustache
You like
bros.
us. We can be mustache bros. You're gonna keep the mustache?
No, my wife would not like that. She
No,
does
we
not
can't be
like
mustache bros.
I forgot where I was going because all I could think about is mustache bros.
We're talking about the Ship of Theseus. Different, same.
So different in the fact that the shirt is different because it's not the same. I agree with you. Those are synonymous. What I'm saying I disagree with you on is that it's not a different shirt. It is different, but different shirt would mean I identify that shirt differently now and it has a new identity. Make sense? So I would still look at the shirt and say, is that if you wash this, I want to be like, oh, Alex got a different shirt on. No, you washed it. Is it the same as it was earlier? No, because now it would be cleaner and you wouldn't have worn it all day. You wouldn't have recorded 2 podcasts in it. So it'd be not the same as it was before it went in the wash.
Yeah.
Is it a different shirt identifiably? No. If you took that sleeve off, put new stitching in that was purple or teal, what's the color you like? Teal, and a teal sleeve on it.
But what if I put in? That's not change at all. It's black thread.
Still, if I could tell, right? This is where I'm saying it comes at identity. This is the paradox part of it.
Okay.
If you told me that you put a new sleeve on it with new stitching, now is the shirt a different shirt? I would say yes, because you've now made a conscious change to this and taken a material, a foreign substance, added it to, and taken something from its original away intentionally. So not only is it different? Yes, now it's a different shirt. And that's where those are hard because you're like, it's different. Yes. Is it a different identifiably? No. And that's where the Ship of Theseus thing messes with people's minds because you're like, it's not a different ship.
Right.
Right. Because I look at it and it looks the same.
Right.
The piece of wood looks exactly the same as the old piece of wood. It's not a different ship. Right. Identifiably, it's not.
Yeah.
But parts wise, makeup wise, it is. It's different. It's not the same as it was before.
So then the intention behind the change is what would cause you to say it is a different shirt.
Part of the intention, yeah, but also just the physical act of something coming to that with the intent of changing it.
Right. Because if you're washing your shirt, you're intending. I mean, you're intending to change it, but clean it.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Not to change the different makeup of what it is.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
But
it does.
You do lose a little bit of the pigmentation, but
Right.
so you're saying it's different, than if I had sprayed bleach on it to make it look like a bleach shirt.
Right. If you're like, I'm going to clean this with bleach, but also make it look really cool. Right. Then yeah, you're intentionally changing the shirt, and it is different now. Not only because pigment, but like you have one of those. They look really cool.
I do.
If you want Alex to bleach your shirt, let us know because they look cool. I'm hoping he bleaches me one for Christmas.
Yeah, and then give us $5 extra or whatever.
For every shirt that you guys buy and ask to be bleached, Alex will bleach another strand of hair.
Whoa.
One strand, man. We can just rip that up.
I don't even know how to bleach one strand of hair.
I don't either.
Do I take it out?
I'll just get
I don't even have to have it on my head. You didn't say
what are the things? What do you think?
Combs?
No, cotton.
Ear tips.
Q-tips.
Yeah.
Hey. Let's take some Q-tips down, dip in bleach, and I'll just take one piece of hair like chopsticks and just pull it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I don't even know if we'd be able to tell in your hair.
You would not. I have some highlights. Not like they're natural.
You go to the salon.
I go to salon.
You get a few little highlights.
Literally 3 hairs every time. Just
all right. Just do the same 3 again. You got it?
Good to see you again, Becky. Just
all right. Can we move on?
Yeah, we can.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
I hear what you're saying. I still don't know where I stand on it because I think
that's fair enough.
I think the intention of the creator is important to it too.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think that if that's forgotten,
yeah,
because the intention is aspect of its identity, right?
Right.
Like, oh, that's this person's piece of work.
Right. Nothing on earth will truly ever be the same.
Right.
In its full entirety.
Think about like the Mona Lisa. If all of a sudden that gets lost and we think it's destroyed, and we go 1,000 years, people don't know what it is, right?
Right.
Some old farmer is going to find it in the back of a barn 100,000 years from now. Let's assume they're still farmers, right?
Yeah. He's going to think it's
He's
his
gonna be
grandma.
like, this is weird. He's going to throw it out.
Yeah.
There's going to be no value or identity attached to that. So, identifiably, same painting.
Yeah.
But also, once he throws it out and rips it apart, uses that, blanket,
Yeah.
burn it different.
Yeah.
Here's one. The card paradox. Imagine you're holding a postcard. This one's just fun. There's no real answer. This is a classic paradox. In your hand. And on one side it is written the statement. The statement on the other side of the card is true. We'll call this statement A. Turn the card over and the opposite side reads the statement on the other side of the card is false. Statement B. Trying to assign any truth to either statement A or B, however, leads to a paradox. If A is true, saying that the other side is true, then B must be as well. But for B to be true, A has to be false. Oppositely, if A is false, then B must be false too, which must ultimately make A true, right? So it's this whole thing of like, well, if that other side is true and it says it's false, then that side has to be false, which would mean this is not true, which it does this weird thing. And it's just a fun one to think about of like, I think of like trick coins every time I think of that. Yeah. And like two-sided coins where you're like, and then I think of Batman because I love Batman. He's like, we make our own luck or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, oh, why does it always land on that? Yeah. He's like, it's a trick. There's a trick aspect to this. Right. So like, okay, both are negative.
Right.
Because they can't both be positive, which is a huge thing in life that we have, that I think our culture really needs to realize is we can't all be right.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
Yeah.
There's real things that are real and there's things that are not real, and somebody has to be wrong.
Right.
If you're arguing two different things, eventually it's going to come true to come to understanding that one of you is right and one of you is wrong. Deal with it. Move on. You're going to be wrong at things. I'm wrong all the time. I'm not wrong.
You're wrong right now about this whole...
No, I'm not wrong about that, and I'm not wrong about the recorders. I'm wrong about probably everything else,
including magnets.
Maybe magnets.
Yeah.
I haven't done enough research on the magnets yet.
Yeah. Give
me another week.
This whole card paradox thing can be also done like there's the statement, this statement is false, which is the same kind of paradox of like, if this statement is false, then it can't be false.
Yeah.
Because
it's like the Pinocchio one. They use this with Pinocchio, where like if Pinocchio
said this is a lie or something like that.
Yeah, says it's a lie and it's, the truth. Or I don't remember exactly how it was like, does his nose grow or not?
Right.
Right. So it's like the conundrum that you face of which one.
Maybe his nose goes back into time.
Which one supersedes the other?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the fun part of the paradox. Yeah. It's kind of like Tenet. You're like, makes sense, but also like, I don't know. Like Inception. Was it spinning? Was it wobbling? Was it not wobbling?
It was wobbling.
I don't know.
That's my opinion.
Which one was wobbling? It's real life or fake life?
Real life.
I don't think it was wobbling. I think it was fake.
I know. I remember. That's what you said last time. You think it was fake life.
Fake life. Definitely
Dream life.
Fake.
But was
Dream
it fake? Or was it just
Dream
a different reality?
No, we're not going to that. It's not a different reality.
Okay, but let's talk briefly about the Schrodinger's cat one.
You brought this up, man. This one makes zero sense to me. I remember talking about it when I was in college. It made zero sense then. I think it's dumb.
I think it's dumb too. But
I don't understand.
I've heard it brought up a lot. So it's some thought experiment in quantum mechanics, which apparently the Schrodinger's cat.
We're both experts in.
Yeah, the Schrodinger's cat, which I was just reading on it before we actually started this whole podcast. Apparently, the actual Schrodinger's cat paradox was brought up to show the ridiculousness of
paradoxes.
Some of the quantum mechanics that people were trying to like prove. Oh, yeah. And so he brought it up and was like, okay, so I have a machine that kills this cat that's in a box 50% of the time, or maybe on a random variable, right? So you don't know if it's going to kill it or not, but it's in a soundproof box. You can't hear it. You can't see it. You don't know if it's going to die. It's not going to like shake the box or anything like that. You press the button, and at that point, quantum mechanics would say that cat is both alive and dead, which is impossible, right? And so, but I've heard people bring it up and be like, wait, is it alive? Is it dead? Is it half? And I was like,
you can't be
it's
half.
Either or. Like ever. We just don't know. Right. We don't know what it is.
Right. Seems like a weird thing that people created because they're bored.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, I mean, it really was to show the ridiculousness of quantum mechanics, apparently.
Yeah, which it does. But
it does.
I think a lot of people miss that point. because they try and find the answer to that one.
Yeah, that's
there
true.
It's not like Theseus. There can be an aspect where we can argue about it, right?
Sure.
When you're arguing about whether a cat is dead or alive, and then there's people that are like, it's half alive. Now you realize, like, what are you talking about, man? Something can't be half alive. It became a
zombie,
right? It's like, it's not half alive. This is half alive and half dead.
Yeah.
But it's alive with this half. What are you talking about?
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Idiots, man. All right, listen to this one. I hadn't heard about this one. I just found this. It's called the potato paradox.
What?
Which I thought was funny.
Which is great, yeah.
Imagine that a farmer has a sack containing 100 pounds of potatoes. Incredible. This is a strong guy. The potatoes he discovers are comprised of 99% water and 1% solids. So he leaves them in the heat of the sun for a day to let the amount of water in them reduce to 98%. But when he returns to them the day after, he finds his 100-pound sack now weighs 50 pounds. How can this be true? Well, if 99% of the 100 pounds of potatoes is water, then the water must weigh 99 pounds. The 1% of solids must ultimately weigh just 1 pound, giving a ratio of solids to liquids of 1 to 99. You following?
Yeah.
There's a lot of math here. But as potatoes are allowed to dehydrate to 98%, the solids must now account for 2% of the weight. Oh my goodness, an ad just popped up. 2% of the weight, a ratio of 2 to 98, or 1 and 49.
Sure.
Even though the solids must still only weigh 1 pound. So the water ultimately must now weigh 49 pounds, giving a total weight of 50 pounds, despite just a 1% reduction in water content.
I feel like this is just I don't think this is a paradox. I think it's just bad math.
No, it's paradox, and they understand. It is.
But they're assuming that the solid and the water are going to weigh the same amount.
Well, no, because it's a percentage aspect of you're taking pounds and you're taking if this is 99% of that.
Right.
Right. So
but that does not mean necessarily that it's 99 pounds.
If it's 99%, it does. It doesn't mean density. It's the same.
If it's 99, no
density and mass.
Just because something is 99% water doesn't mean that 99% of its weight is water.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Weight, it does, not mass.
No, it doesn't.
Mass is different. Yeah, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No.
Yeah.
If I had a solid steel bowl, right, and the volume of it was made up of, I don't know, what's a normal volume for a bowl? Let's say.
Yeah, use some.
I have no idea.
Millimeters and milliliters and all that metric system.
Yeah. Okay. We have a solid steel cup because it makes it easier, filled with water. Mm-hmm. That cup weighs more than the water. I assume because I think solid steel weighs that much. Assuming it does. All right.
But it's really heavy water.
It's not. Water's not that heavy. But the majority of the weight is coming from the steel, not the water. Even though there's technically more volume in the water. But
it says the potato he discovers are comprised of 99% water.
Yeah, bro. So that doesn't matter.
It does, though.
No. The cup and the water are composed of, let's say, 75% water, but the actual cup.
No. The composing is the percentage of the weight.
But that's not what it says.
Yeah, that's what it's talking about. The percentage of what's comprised of 100 pounds is 99% of that is water.
Right. Then this isn't a paradox. It's just bad math. If 99% of the weight is water and you lose 1%, then you can't lose 50 pounds. That's impossible.
Wait, say that part again.
If 99% of the weight of the potatoes is the water and you lose 1 pound and it goes down you lose 1% of that water because it sits out in the heat or whatever, that weight can't go down to 50 pounds. That's impossible.
It's not impossible. It's based off the ratio. That's why it's paradoxical. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's not paradoxical.
It is.
It's not based off ratio.
Yes,
you just said 99% of the weight is the water.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case,
and if you change,
and the water goes down,
because percent is based off what? Ratio.
Yeah, percentage is
so
based
you
off,
change the ratio of what water to mass is, solid, and that changes what are under based off mathematics, it's actually good math.
No, it's bad math.
No.
Because if the water, okay, so if it's 100%, we're saying that the water is 99%, and like you said, that's talking about weight. That's what you said,
Mhm.
which I disagree. I don't think it actually says it's talking about weight, but
It's 99% of the weight of what's comprised there.
so the water is 99% of the weight.
Right, so it's 99 pounds.
99 pounds of water, 1 pound of solid mass or starch or whatever.
Which, man, those are some bad potatoes.
Watery
That's a lot of
potatoes,
water.
sloshy potatoes. Then, if 1% of the water leaves, it has to equal a 99-pound bag. You can't get a 50-pound bag out of that. That doesn't make any sense.
Wait, say the last part again.
All right, read
Okay,
the
look,
paradox
this is
here.
where you miss it. Well, if 99% of 100 pounds of potatoes, that's where I'm saying it is about the pounds. It says, well, if 99% of 100 pounds of potatoes, I just lost that spot, stupid ads, is water, then water must weigh 99 pounds.
Okay, so it says that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then it says the water decreases to 98%?
No, so then 1% of the solids must ultimately weigh just 1 pound. Okay? So it's 1 pound of solid, 99 pounds of water.
Yeah, the
Okay.
1% of the potatoes, which is solid, weighs 1 pound.
Mm-hmm. So that gives a ratio of solid to liquid. This is where the ratio comes
A
in.
1 to 99.
1 to 99. But if the potatoes are allowed to dehydrate to 98%,
Yeah.
hiccup, the solid must now account for 2%. Right?
2%. Well, of the
If
weight.
the water, yeah. If
It
the,
would-
if the
it would
water
account
goes to
for-
98% of the total, then the other 2% are made up of solid.
No, it wouldn't be the other 2%. It would be because it'd still be it would become 99 pounds. So it would be
No,
One-
not pounds. It's going back. It's now, this is where the paradox comes in, because it says if the potatoes are allowed to dehydrate, this is where they dehydrate to 98% water. So he leaves it out. Water moves.
okay.
You still have to create 100% of whatever you have.
Okay, sure.
So 98% water, 2% of weight. Now the ratio is 2 to 98.
Okay, so then yeah.
So then, or 1 to 49. That's how the ratio reduces.
1 to 49.
Okay. So even though solids must still only weigh 1 pound.
Wait, 1 to 49. Is that right?
Yeah. 2 to 98, 1 to 49.
Is 98 divided by? Yeah. Is that right? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So the water ultimately must now weigh 49 pounds, giving a total weight, because it's reducing the ratio.
So then total rate would be, 50 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it's weird ratio that makes it paradoxical, because you look at it and you go, the math doesn't make sense. But that's the whole point of it.
Okay, yeah.
Anyways,
no,
it's
you're right. It's not. I don't think that's a paradox. It's just
I don't know. It's called a
it's
potato
an interesting
paradox.
math thought experience.
Yeah.
Experiment.
It leaves you a little like, these both can't be true, which I think is kind of the term, what paradox typically means.
Right.
That not both could be true, but somehow they are. But then we create paradoxes out of stupid stuff. Also, our camera stopped.
Hey guys, so we had a problem with our camera, and by
Sad.
problem I mean the timer ran out and we didn't see it.
Yeah, because Paul is not here right now.
Yeah.
So we blame Israel.
Yeah, Israel, dang it. So
That was really, really convincing.
Yeah.
Mad. You should be an actor.
I'm acting right now.
Oh, that's different than yesterday.
When I wasn't acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or I was acting, but just not right now. I was acting right then.
Tenant
Yeah.
meets Theseus.
Yep. But if he made it in reverse. Well, anyway, you can see us now. In a few seconds, you won't be able to see us because we don't have camera, but we do have audio.
So you can hear us, but you cannot see us.
Yeah. So take this right here. Look at us. Look at us real good. Keep that in your mind, because for the next probably 5 minutes or so, if it's even that much, you won't be able to see this. So just pretend that we're talking.
Well, you'll see just a still frame of this like this.
Are we gonna still frame?
Paul's going to still frame this.
And then he's gonna take a video of his own mouth mouthing all the words.
No, he's not going to do that.
And he's gonna put
Don't
it
add
over
more work.
ours.
He's just going to put this
So it's
picture, and then we're going to cut back to our audio in 3, 2, 1. Well, guys, Alex is going to give his wisdom. Do you feel wise after all these paradoxes?
Yeah.
Hey, wait, don't hit my water, man. This is my hydration. I have Mio in here. Not a sponsor.
Don't drink too much water, man. You're gonna start looking like those potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Here's
Who
my-
has 99% potatoes?
I don't know. What did
Or
they say?
99% water in there.
What did they say is the percentage of humans that's water?
I don't know, like 70? Or is that the Earth?
I don't know.
Are we the same as the Earth?
No.
Because we changed something about us, so we're different.
And the
Nailed
Earth
it.
is different also than us
Mm-hmm. Because it's rounder?
because it's rounder.
Yeah.
And
And crustier.
Yeah, it's crustier.
Because it's got a crust and we don't. But pizza does. Wow.
Sometimes I get those eye crusties.
Pizza is more like the earth than we are.
In some ways.
In some ways.
And we're sentient and the earth isn't.
I do have a scent sometimes.
Yeah.
What's your wisdom?
My wisdom, I don't care what percentage of water is in your potatoes. If you're eating soggy potatoes, you just stop. Doesn't matter if you got 100 pounds of them. You don't need to eat them.
Amen to that, brother. Unless they're mashed potatoes. You should always eat mashed potatoes.
But those aren't soggy.
I agree, but you should always eat mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes is a great idea, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well,
unless they're too mashed.
Yeah, unless they're not lumpy enough for Alex. Well, thanks for listening. We are so thankful for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to this difficult one to follow. Next week, we're going to do something Christmassy and fun. And I'm going to hate every minute of it, but Alex is going to love it. And he's going to sing Christmas songs to you. And I'm going to probably wear something that resembles a Grinch costume.
You have one of those?
I'll find one.
Cool. Sounds good. Is
Thanks.
it just going to be your T-Rex costume?
Yep, with a Grinch hat on.
That's great.
Thanks for listening. And remember, stay out.